Fed, the war, and the markets. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, March the 22nd. March Madness. It's been not much craziness. A couple of great games, but pretty much tournament's gone according to plan. But of course, obviously, we have the war in place, we have the Fed in place, and the markets, and none of it's any good. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. Obviously, the action of the war has created higher oil prices, which is pushing inflation. But more importantly, we're now sending in troops, and we think to put this to an end and put them down. Again, I think that we need to be a little bit more forceful here. We're now involved. There's things going on that are causing some issues. And I think that it's now time to say, okay, enough. We are the world power. Let's take care of it. And of course, obviously, so far the religious craziness over in Iran, they continue to, death to America, hate America. And we know with the story there, the oil prices spiking. Look, only 2% of the world oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz, but again, panic will get there. And that's what we'll talk about in our market report. And of course, the Federal Reserve, well, morons to the extreme. We had the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. Actually, no decision, but Michelle Bauman, says she's written in three interest rate cuts before year end. Okay. First, she said that, which again, it would be totally ignorant and stupid, because of course you've got inflation out of control, and if you cut rates, it's only going to make it worse. You've got the Fed funds rate cutting pricing and maybe a potential hike. Okay. And of course, then she says, okay, that she'd like to see more progress in lowering inflation. Well, you don't lower inflation by lowering rates. Okay, rates is again, if you would let the free markets trade, this is the thing we talk about all the time. The Fed funds rate, which is 300 basis points lower, the 10-year notes have now once again hit 4.4%. So they're about 500 basis higher since the cuts started. And of course, the Fed funds rate is down about 300 basis points. Doesn't sound like it's a benefit to you and me. I have to wonder. And of course, then Fed moves to ease bank rules aiming to boost lending and unlock capital. How moronic can the Federal Reserve be? Now, this is all the same person, but obviously there's more at the Fed that think like this. But how moronic can they be when I believe, personally, my opinion, that the banks are already over leveraged? So now you want to let them get bigger leverage to loan out more money so that when they do go broke and they do go bust, guess who gets to bail them out? The American taxpayer once again gets the bill and gets it shoved up their ass. It is totally ludicrous. This Fed chair is a total moron that continues to talk from either side of her mouth and has no clue on how the free market works and what she's talking about. I mean, it is absolutely. Are you watching? Okay, what's going on with Blackstone and other private equity funds and the credit spreads that they do? They are not giving you redemptions. You are not getting your money back if you have invested with them. Now, eventually you may, but you're not getting it back upon demand. Okay. They are sitting on the money because they don't have the money. So we've got over leveraged banks. We got a market that's tanking. We've got funds that are not private equity funds that are not giving you back your money from redemptions. Now, again, when you go into these private equity, it's always the possibility that they can delay. Okay, you don't have necessarily liquidity, but doesn't that indicate to all of you that there is a potential problem? Again, you can ignore the warning signs all you want. But this is what happens on a regular basis when markets start to peak and things like this start to happen, and the average person, and well, even the media ignores it. Okay. And we forget about the problems that are out there. And of course, suddenly the markets collapse, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe the markets collapsed." Well, again, I'm telling you here, there are warnings, and I'm not telling you the markets are going to collapse anytime soon. Obviously, last week's sell-off was a sell-off. Okay, we'll see what happens. We're down around support, but there are warning signs galore. No redemptions, willingness to talk about rates, willingness to let banks loan out more money. Okay, the central banks are not operating from a position of strength. Okay, new home sales crashed 17% in January. Okay, so once again, housing keeps getting worse. Interest rates keep rising. When does it end? When do we finally wake up? Okay. Bond markets are beginning to panic over inflation, which is why you see the higher interest rates. And we haven't seen rates like this for quite a while. And I think they're going higher. Okay. This is a thing that we talk about on a regular basis. Okay. Uh, and then some other things that happened during the week, uh, the amount of layoffs that continue to go around. CBS laying off employees, Paramount, Amazon's going to lay off more people. Where are these people going to go? How are these people going to live? There are not jobs available. Okay. Yet they tell us how good employment is. Okay. It's not. This is, again, the issue that we are dealing with. Okay. And on a sadder note, which we'll talk about more in our commentary, but radical Biden judge reverses RFK Jr. on trans child surgeries and other procedures. Man, what are we fucking out of our minds here in this country? But we'll talk about that in our commentary. And uh, if you're one of the non-believers of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and again, I'm not telling you to believe. Okay, listen, I didn't get in at the beginning. I haven't made a lot of money on Bitcoin. Okay, but JP Morgan now activates Bitcoin and Ethereum as an institutional collateral, which means you can now borrow money against it. Okay, so between all the new ETFs, between the statement here, between everything else, they are telling you that it is real. Okay, that it is going to be around for a while. So that is something to take into note. So again, we've got high oil prices, we've got the war going on in Iran, we have the continual battle of the parties, which God forbid that you would see anybody lift a finger to help the president that they weren't part of his party. Again, listen, is he always right the way he does? No. Okay. But do you think that maybe unity and something and working together might be something to think about? It's just something to think about. In the meantime, warning signs galore. Be careful. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 22nd. We're going to step out for a break and we'll be back with our market report right after the break. What's up, kids? Well, here we are. And of course, we do have sponsors of the show. And of course, our new product behind me, Gap Hunter. It's been quiet the last couple of days, but basically makes 3 to 5 trades a day. And you're done by 10:30 in the morning. They're all done through letter of direction. So it's perfect. You don't even have to be around. A very successful model called Gap Hunter, trades in the futures market. Check it out. And of course, we have some brokerage partners. Now, full disclosure, I have other brokers, but trade your brokerage. Look, saves me $100,000 a year. Okay, they handle all of our automation. They are $10 a month flat. Okay, so you put all that together, and you go, how can I not be there? Okay, that's what I want to ask. That's how I always ask is, well, how can you not? How can you want to go pay 2,000 a year versus 120, $3,000 a year versus 120, and so on? I mean, it just doesn't make any logical sense. And of course, Capital Trading Group, who is our commodities and futures broker partner, and of course, we do a lot of partnerships with them. They do all of our letter of direction trading. Great customer service, great to deal with, and I think you should check them out. And of course, all of our sponsors are listed on the website there on the bottom of the page. And of course, the Joy of Mom, which is a great product that we're actually partners in as well. but check it out. It's a great website and great community for moms and others, and of course our high school program, which we're trying to educate and our youth. And of course, it's a fight, so think about that. From the left, we get a fight in every school trying to put the program in for free. So, in the meantime, uh, keep an eye on all our sponsors, and let's just get back to Bubba's Bottom Line, and of course our market report. Welcome back. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 22nd, and of course markets got smushed. Well, they didn't really get smushed. Everybody likes to talk because of the big numbers. Okay, actually the markets rallied Monday and Tuesday. You had a big sell-off Wednesday. You had a attempt to continue that sell-off on Thursday with a big rally, and of course Friday they hit the skids, and they went right down to support. So now we're at support. We're a little bit oversold, and I would suspect you'll see another rip your face off rally. Now, I expect much lower, okay, but I don't necessarily expect much lower tomorrow, okay, or much lower this week. In fact, I would say to you that I expect that we'll see another attempt or a rip your face off rally. I think you get a short squeeze. Again, remember the markets don't go straight down. Okay. The key to watch is the VIX, the volatility index. As that continues to rise, markets will go lower. But I will take you back to 2008. The VIX peaked in October of '08. The markets didn't bottom until March of '09. Okay. So again, the fear hasn't played out yet. We're getting closer to see, but I think there's a lot more room to go on the downside. I think that when you look at the bigger picture, I think the economy is in bad shape. I think that we have banks that are in trouble. I think there's a lot to be concerned about. Okay. So, but in the meantime, as we look at, as I said, the four major indices got pounded last week, but only pounded basically to support. The dollar, which we're short, is at 99 and a half. We're short from par. The dollar looks like it wants to go lower, but it's really range bound 98 to a dollar. I mean, we're going to cover at 98 if it gets there. The euro currency continues to go lower. We're short. Bonds and notes continue to go lower, which means interest rates continue to go higher, which we talked about, and that's where Bowman doesn't get it. Of course, the Federal Reserve in general doesn't get it, but we're still short bonds and notes. Bitcoin had an okay week. It wasn't a disaster. Tried to break out pretty flat, but did try to make an attempt to run. We have no position. Metals got pounded. Okay, and I think now it's time to look at gold and silver. If you're a buyer, an investor, or a trader, but if you're an investor, this is a good time to start looking. Very oversold. Uh, Gold, silver, and platinum are all great potentials in here. We had no position in either right now, but we'll be looking to buy on Monday, tomorrow. And copper, well, it looks like copper is broken down. It's broken to the bottom end of its support that we've been watching that range between $6. I think now the next target would be to the fives, and certainly now I'd be a seller at 560. Grain markets had an okay week, flattish, but okay. They look like they're leaning higher. We're still long the grains. I think things look good. Cattle, I'm a seller at 235. Feeder hogs, we're looking to be a buyer around 90. And of course, nat gas, we're long, and it's still turning right where we bought it, except that we are profitable on the extra that we bought. And crude oil, which we're short, had a flat week. It felt like it was up week, but it was really just flat. And I think that you're going to see crude suddenly back down in the 70s, 60s, and 50s because the fear premium that's been built in is laughable. I mean, if you look at it, you'll see that if you go out to December oil, crude's trading at $68. So again, I warn you, first of all, remember the warning signs. That doesn't mean sell everything. Again, I want to make it clear. It doesn't mean you sell your portfolio. I'm a big believer on holding on to it. But when you're trying to figure out something, okay, understand that this is coming. This is real. The warning signs are real. Okay. The bank's in trouble, the lack of redemptions, an idiotic Fed. Be careful. We're going to stop out here for a break. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and we're going to come back with our commentary right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, kids, just a quick reminder, Gap Hunter, brand new product. Check it out. Trader brokerage, great. Capital trading, great. Enjoy it, Mom, and our high school program. And let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and our market commentary. Actually, not our market commentary, my commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March 22nd. March Madness going on. We're winding down into this Sweet 16. And of course, been a pretty exciting tournament, but held before him. But in the meantime, as I mentioned earlier, the radical Biden judge reverses RFK. Look, I don't care what anybody wants to be. Okay. I mean, whatever you want to be. That's what makes me a libertarian. I want the government to be fiscally responsible, but what you want to do with your own life, what you want to do at home, I don't care what you do. I don't hold it against you. I don't dislike you because of it. I think that, again, it doesn't matter to me who you are. Be who you want to be. That is one of the greatest things about being an American is that you can be what you want to be. But when you start cutting up kids, okay, and in some cases don't need their parents' permission, I think that's where you have to draw the line. And I cannot believe that a judge uh, took away and approved child surgeries and other procedures for sexual change and things like that. I understand it. And again, do I agree with it? Listen, I can't tell you how to feel. I don't know how it feels to be in that position, but I do know that kids and young people change their mind thousands of times from different experimentations. And once you do the surgery, it becomes permanent. And I do not believe that the medical field should allow things to happen without parents' consent. And I think that we need to really look into these things because, again, mutilating one's body before actually knowing that that's really what you want to do, I think is a mistake. And I think the court system should stay out of this. I think that we should have laws on the books, and I think there are certain things that have no business being in a federal court, and I think that this is one of them. It's very distressing because as my kids are old enough myself, but their kids when they come along, your grandchildren, your children. I think we have to be very careful walking a very fine line here, and I think that it's a real tragedy what's going on when you can do things as a minor where you can't do a lot of other things, but as a child you can mutilate your body. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you disagree. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you. Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, March the 22nd. We'll see you tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update.